Hi everyone, it's Crystal. I'm here in my garden on Vancouver Island. It's the middle of November. It's not raining this morning, thankfully, so I'm taking this opportunity to come out into the garden, and I noticed that I still have some scarlet runner beans on the vine here. You can see them trailing over my fence here. Um, I grew these this year mainly for the flowers for my honeybees, and the honeybees absolutely love these flowers on the scarlet runner beans, and they're beautiful orange flowers, and they collect the pollen and the nectar from them all summer. And so that was the reason that I grew these, but I decided to leave all of the beans on the vine this year just to collect for more seed to plant next year, because I had run out of planting beans. So I don't have any more to plant next year. So I do need some. And that's why I left these on the vine. And so today I'm going to take them off and we'll save them for next year. So scarlet runner beans are probably the biggest type of bean that I grow, and I don't know if there are even bigger varieties out there, but these are certainly a big variety of bean, and you can just see from the size of these how big they are. And the beans inside themselves are also quite large, and I will show you that too. But you'll notice that because it's mid-November, it's starting to get cold. We're getting some frost. We're going to get probably a hard frost pretty quick here. And so some of these are already starting to rot a little bit. So you can see that you don't want them to end up looking like this. If you leave them on too long, it's too cold, it's too wet, it's too humid, or whatever, you're going to end up with some rot. And so we want to try and collect them before that stage, hopefully. So I'm just going to open this one up and just see where we're at for the beans. So you can see there's some beans there. They don't look overly mature. They're not really speckled like you would normally find. So we'll keep collecting and we'll see. So I did bring a bucket, so I'm just going to start pulling them off the vine, and I'm going to put them in this bucket. So normally you want to leave them on the vine as long as possible before saving them for seed, because you want them to be fully mature. If they're not fully mature, then they may not be good for seed for next year. So some of the smaller pods, this one's a nice large one, so I'm pretty sure I've got some nice big beans inside there that I can use for seed for next year. But if you do have some smaller ones, they might not work. It might be too small. So these are still green. If you had grown them a little bit earlier in the season, maybe you'd be able to leave them on the vine until they're brown and dry. In my case, these are not going to go brown and dry because we're into fall. It rains nearly every day. It's humid. So I do have to pick them while they're green, and I will dry them in the house in a cool, dry place. So scarlet runner beans need a lot of support. As you can see, I like to grow them up along the fence because they love to climb fences or trellises, and they will just go and go as long as you have the room for them. So that's why I really like growing them up this fence. It's attractive in the summertime with all the beautiful flowers that they produce as well. Okay, so I finished collecting all the scarlet runner bean pods from the vine. So I got a nice little bucket full here, and some of them are certainly ready to get taken off. You can see I do have some that are starting to rot and go moldy. So we definitely got them at the right time before more of them get lost to mold. I'm just going to open up here and show you. This is a really nice specimen of what you want to see. Okay, look at those beautiful beans. Wow, those are so big. Look at that. So if you open up your beans and they look purpley black, reddish black, and they're nice and plump like this, colorful, then you know that they are fully mature and they are ready for you to save for seed for next planting time. So for next year. Yeah, and that was still in a green pod. So you don't necessarily have to save them until they're brown on the vine. These beans here, I'm going to remove from the pod and I'm going to store them like this in a cool and dry place over the winter. And then in the springtime, I can plant these ones for another harvest next year. Okay, so I'm inside now and I'm just going to start working with these beans and start taking them out of the pods, and then I'm going to compost all of that material. So let's just see. So that one looks nice, but you can see that there's an immature one, and yeah, that's the only one in there. So I'm going to compost this. So I'm just going to go through this whole pile of bean pods I collected. Oh, and look, there's some really nice ones. So those are perfect. That's exactly what you want to see. Your nice big fat beans. We'll take those out. So what I've got here is just a plastic container that has some ventilation holes in it. I like to save these, and some newspaper on the bottom. And then I just take the beans, we'll spread them out. This might even be too small. Ideally, you want to have them not piled up on each other so that they can dry, but it's probably fine if you keep them in a nice dry and cool area. I either keep them in my garage or in my basement. And then I will store them like this all winter, and then in the springtime they'll be nice and dried out and they'll be ready to plant. Some of these are quite difficult. Oh, I don't know what happened with this one, but it looks like these beans didn't mature either. Look how tiny they are. Oh, yeah. I don't think that one's any good, so even though it was nice and big, for some reason it is just hard. So it is nice if you get them when they are able to dry out just a little bit. It makes it a lot easier for opening them and making sure they're mature enough. Looks like some of these are not going to be mature enough, but some of them are. So even though I got quite a lot of these large, nice pods, unfortunately, they didn't have enough time to mature on the vine before the season was over. So even something like this, unfortunately now I'm finding that they didn't have enough time to become large enough and mature. So they are all just tiny on the inside and not worth saving at all. Some of them might be a little bigger, whoops, but still not what we want to see. So you can see the difference there. So yeah, unfortunately next year maybe I can start these Scarlet runner beans a little bit earlier, get them into the ground early in the spring so that they have enough time to mature fully on the vine and get to that nice seed saving stage, which is like this. So yeah, right. So there's my final count. They're all nice and spread out. They're on a newspaper in a container. I'm not going to close this lid. I'm going to leave that lid open, and I'm going to go stick them into the basement into a cool, dry, dark place. And I'm going to just let them dry out over the winter. And if you do notice at any time that they start getting moldy, you know that they need to be moved to a drier location. So just try and keep them nice and dry. and they should be fine for the springtime when you want to plant. Then you want to try and plant them into the ground as soon as your ground can be worked after the last frost. And the sooner you get them into the ground, the sooner you're going to see those nice vines with the beautiful flowers. Thanks for watching. Enjoy.